This Saturday night in Tampa Bay, this gentleman will be one of 30 entrants participating in the WWE's Royal Rumble, looking to win it for a second consecutive year. And then it's on to headlining WrestleMania. Can he finish the story? Odds makers say his chances are excellent. It's the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. What's happening, Cody?
How are you? I thought you were about to say odds makers say it's not going to happen and then just throw it to me. But no, it's some of the odds are in my favor to go back to back at the Royal Rumble, which I'd be the first guy to win. And then the next year win again since Stone Cold Steve Austin. So
that's right. I read that.
Hell of a name, you know?
I love someone after they win the Royal Rumble, and you did this, they point to the WrestleMania sign. You got to do that last year. It's not winning the title necessarily, but what does that feel like?
That moment is very real. You are the winner of the Royal Rumble, and you are going to be the main event of the biggest event in sports entertainment history. It's all real. So to be able to point at that sign, to me, it felt like my arm was 300 pounds. It felt like there was this giant responsibility that came with pointing at the sign. And I was just really hoping that it wouldn't end. That's one of those dreams that you never know if you're actually going to get that one. That's a lofty element. The actual main event of WrestleMania is the hardest slot in the world to get into.
All right, let's talk this Royal Rumble. You and CM Punk, you set the stage on Raw the other day. You got right in his face. You told him you're finishing the story. Now, odds makers, I teed this off in the beginning, they have him as a slight favorite over you to win this thing. Does that motivate you?
It's definitely motivating knowing that here he is, CM Punk's return, and has not had a match in WWE since his return, and he's the favorite to win one of the most difficult matches. I think that's just, I don't want to say unfair because our world is naturally, it's not fair. It's sports entertainment. It's all those things, but it's definitely motivating. And last year being the favorite, I was the favorite, and then I was able to win the Royal Rumble. It might be sweeter when you're not the favorite if you can do it again, you know?
That's the way to do it as an underdog. Now, what will your approach be? Will it be any different from last year? Would you consider hiding under the ring or faking an injury? We've seen this. Guys fake an injury. They go to the locker room. They come back. It's like, oh, yeah, wait, he was never tossed over the top rope. Or, oh, yeah, there's Hornswoggle under the ring. We haven't seen him in an hour. Yeah. I feel like you'll burn fewer calories. You'll be fresh. You'll be right there for the finale.
I am not I'm not against any strategy. If you're going to do it, you really got to be out of sight, out of mind. You really got to be out of sight, out of mind. And then, like you said, they're burning calories. They're losing, they're shredding water weight as they go. They're getting more fatigued. I'll probably take your advice. Again, an undefeated wrestler yourself.
Right. You could do worse than taking advice from me. Yeah. All right. You know what? We maybe don't even get this out because I don't want to now unleash a strategy that you may employ. It's
okay. Let it fly.
Let people know. Okay.
Let it fly. This is a young roster. Punk in that interview the other day said he'd done more Rumbles than me. I don't think he realized I've done more Rumbles than him.
Right.
He said, I've done more. And for that, them being a young roster, maybe some inexperience, let him know exactly what I'm going to do. Let him know.
Great. Okay. I love it. You're putting it all out there. We talk about sports and we talk about football, and a lot of people love to complain about the refs, and a lot of times they're right. Yeah. I feel like whatever is your favorite sport, you hate the referees, right? Officiating in pro wrestling is the absolute worst. Now, I don't know if you get fined for agreeing with me, but it is terrible. Their backs are turned when the wrong guy is in the ring. They're not looking for foreign objects. Would you agree to a replay review system? Michael Cole puts the headsets on. They check in with New York. You get one challenge each. You see, did he pull the tights? Was Cody Rhodes' foot on the rope when the referee slammed his hand down the third time? Is this craziness, or is it right there that $5 billion for Netflix? I feel like you should be able to have replay review.
Well, the instant replay is tricky, but if you qualify it, as you said, with a challenge, the classic Bill Belichick disgustingly throwing down his challenge flag, that is rather intriguing. But if it's a situation like we've seen in football where every scoring play is reviewed,
no,
I can get a little taxing.
Slows it down.
little tedious, but the idea of one challenge is actually a very good idea.
One more thing. Earlier in the week marked the 40-year anniversary since Hulk Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik, gave birth to Hulkamania, one of the turning points in pro wrestling history, if not the turning point. But did your dad talk to you about matches? Would he have considered this a turning point? Or I imagine he was more like, no. You had to see me wrestle Flair. You had to see Piper. You had to see all the greats. I remember watching your dad, Georgia Championship Wrestling. What was his time period that he would stick like, no, that was the turning point?
So my dad was very honest when I would watch. And I've seen some other second generations who maybe had a different experience where their dad was the best and that's the end of the story. He looked at Hulkamania happening not as a turning point necessarily, but as a moment where if Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, if these two guys together move forward at the rate they are, it changes everything. Now, because you asked about my dad, of course, like all dads do, he had spun this story to me when I was younger that he was supposed to be in the Hulk Hogan spot. And he explained to me in 1978, him and Vince Jr., they got some recording studio time. They were going to do a rock and wrestling thing. It sounded very much like a tall tale. But it's your father, he's very much proud of him and believed it. Years later, talking to Vince McMahon by the ring, tells me the exact same story and how mad he was at Dusty for not coming and not take. He understood him. He was a rebel. That's what he kept referring to. But he was so mad at him for not making that move. And I've even heard Jim Cornette in one of his podcasts talk about the what if. And it probably would have been too early, late 70s. It kind of needed to be 83 to 85 with everything happening with WWF and MTV. I loved that the story had truth to it.
That's great. And but what do you think it was with your dad's like? You just his allegiance to the Deep South and the territories and things like that, or was there something else you think?
I think it was loyalty to the current system in place. The NWA, you had a governing body. You worked with the other territories versus against them. And I think he didn't have the eye for what cable television was going to be like. He didn't have the eye for, the technology is changing. And we're talking about now, we're moving Monday Night Raw to a streaming service.
Right.
WWE, Vince in particular, has always been right on the cusp of the modern technology. And I don't think a lot of the old timer luminary wrestlers saw what was going to happen, because if it wasn't Vince, somebody else was going to do it.
You could watch Cody Rhodes Royal Rumble Peacock this Saturday night live from Tampa. Follow him on X at Cody Rhodes. Cody, good luck. Hide under the ring unless you're claustrophobic. I'm telling you.
I'm not. I'm going in. I'm looking to go back to back, and I might take some of your strategy with me.
There you go. Good luck to you, Cody. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, sir.